Alright, so at this point I decided that it's much easier if I would just go on with creating a simple game. And a simple game I would show you how to use Ursa step by step, introducing small concepts. So let's start by making a simple Pong game. First of all, let's disable this shit. I don't need this crap. Alright. So I have an empty scene, let's save it as a Pong game. Alright, so currently the scene is empty, I have camera and whatnot, so what we want is first is to add systems. What it does is creates and essentiates necessary system stacks that are required for Ursa to function properly. So it created two stacks. There's first a global system stack and a local system stack. If you want to know about them, you can go to the wiki page for Ursa and read up on system stacks. Pretty well, not really in depth, but you can find more information here. But in layman terms, like really quickly, the global systems are the ones that's gonna be persistent. So if I press play, you can see that they instantly go in don't destroy and load. And these systems are the ones that control things like graphic settings, like input, console. So it spawned the console already. Configs debug functions, so debug enable, and then I would go like bam and gonna change the config settings. What do we have here? Oops, some error, who cares? Alright, stuff like that. So but let's set it to 300 instead. Alright, so that's the global systems, they do that stuff. Now the local systems are the ones that exist in your scene. So this is where you put your actual game logic and where you can say where you customize your scenes to do what the scene should do, right? So if it was a main menu, these systems would be main menu system. If it's a game, it would be a game. If it's a lobby, it would be a lobby. Stuff like that. So alright. So what do we want? We want a Pong game. So first let's quickly position our camera. Okay, let's make it black because I like black color, I like everything. Then alright, so let's create some static objects for the scene. What's that should be? Let's just use cubes. Whatever. Do we have it to have it? Okay, whatever, I'll just use physics for it. Doesn't really matter that much. So another cube. And another cube. Whoops. Alright, so we have a field right here, so we're gonna create a new, we can just call it field. And reset its position. Add some tag to it, so I just now this is a static thing, right? So let's alright, whatever, I won't add any colors right now. So this is a static object, and it is still, it can be an entity, but we won't make it an entity right now. It's just gonna be a static object, and we're gonna make it a prefab. So we'll go into resources, game prefabs. These, by the way, these names are pretty important. These names are following the name convention that use yourself or use select or use a predefined one. So the Ursa has a set of settings, files that are used for the prefab tools, for the asset tools, stuff like that, database tools, and the other Ursa systems that all work together to create this unified experience that will change the how you view game development, right? So right here we can see that our database uses the folder by the name of game prefab, so that is important. Serialization uses the custom data folder, so it's here. Yep, so that is important as well. So prefab tools, the ones that we're gonna currently use a lot of different folders. So these are important as well. So when you start using Ursa, you would want to have those folders sorted out. You can change them here, but don't forget to rename them as well as in your resources. All those are relative to the resources folder. Now, why do you need that stuff? Why do you need this shit? Why would ever go through all this stuff? Now, what it does is basically automates stuff that you would have to do manually all the time. So if you work with the assets, typically if you're a beginner, you don't touch a lot of assets, or if you're a programmer, you don't touch a lot of assets. However, I do touch a lot of assets all the time. So being able to automate that, making it just work out so you don't have to set anything yourself manually, is pretty vital. So what it does is, if we already have set up our structure. So if I create a prefab and put it into the static folder, now after that I would say tools, I would say prefab parse prefabs, it will automatically do certain things for me depending on the folder that I put the prefab in. So the folder called static, the prefab first of all will become static. As you can see, the components, the mono called prefab type, which acts just as a marker for it, doesn't hold anything apart from data, will be set to static. Now, what it does, like this is understandable, yeah, because you move them around. If I move it to live folder, and then again updates the parse prefabs, it will be light and it will not be static anymore. So it's done automatically for me. I don't have to do it manually. All I care for is to put the asset in the corresponding folder. Alright. So the next step would be to why do we need this prefab type? Now this thing acts as a flag that tells the special system that's called level organizer where to put our object in the scene, how to organize the scene so that this object is put into corresponding place. Now to utilize this system, first of all we need to create a level structure. So we go into levels and we create a level structure. So this creates game objects that act as a folder, right? So this is pure organizational thing, because typically your scene will become huge and you want to separate your trees from your enemies. Otherwise you're just gonna lose your enemies in your trees. So the two systems, the prefab parser that changes the settings of prefabs and adds this stuff to them, and level organizer work together because when I click the organize level, my static object, my field, was moved to static, right? So now the fields, I can just collapse it and not think about it anymore, right? So this is pretty convenient thing. It is not even convenient, it is vital when you have a lot of assets. I had scenes with 3, 4, 5,000 objects that were about 15 megabytes in size, and manually placing all those objects, manually moving them, would be impossible practically, and manually setting all those things. So Ursa already has that built in, the automation that is required you to work with projects so that you don't spend time on those things, right? Okay, so I would say this is the end. Yeah, I'll continue in the next video.